The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Look at the state of this place. It is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and I'm sitting here in the sanctuary, which is currently vibrating because my goat, Mitch, is trying to eat the structural integrity of the barn again, and I'm looking at the news and just, well, it's like watching a high-speed collision between a clown car and a bulldozer, except the bulldozer is being driven by a guy who thinks the steering wheel is just a decorative dinner plate.
I gotta tell you, John, it's more like a neighborhood association meeting where the guy in charge just decided he owns everyone's driveway and is charging us toll money to get the mail. It is a busy, busy day. But honestly, after yesterday, I didn't think we could top the EPA basically deciding to stop measuring air quality because the results were too depressing. But here we are.
Well, yeah, yesterday was a special kind of hell between the DOJ Epstein document dump where they forgot to redact victims' names and those poor athletes in Italy having to spend their Olympic press conferences talking about ice instead of hockey. It's just exhausting. But today, we have a fascinating, crucial lineup. We've got the DHS on a 2-week leash, a literal $400 million ballroom being built over the bones of the White House East Wing, and a machinist in North Texas who just gave the GOP a black eye they didn't see coming.
It's an action-packed show, but before we dive into the swamp, look, we gotta handle the home front first. And I'm not talking about my nephew Vector's latest cryptocurrency scam, though I'm sure he's out there selling digital bridge tokens to someone right now.
Right. First off, a very important happy birthday to River. She's 10 years old today. She's the daughter of our creator, Eric Christensen, and 10 is a big one. That's double digits. That's the age where you realize the adults don't actually know where the TV remote is either. Happy birthday, River.
Happy birthday, kiddo. Try to stay 10 as long as you can. It's all downhill once you have to start filing taxes and worrying about the national debt. And listen, folks, while we're on the subject of Eric, look, here's the deal. Our Patreon is now live. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/Neural Network Media. Your support helps us continue to create content and improve the show.
It keeps us from having to sell imaginary money like Vector does on his Daily Delusion podcast. Well, speaking of delusions, let's talk about the economy, Mary, because apparently we're living in a world where market rules mean whatever the guy in the Oval Office whispered after his third cheeseburger.
Oh, honestly, John, let me tell you, it's a pay-to-play model that would make a mafia boss blush. Look, here's the deal. Senate Democrats led by Ron Wyden and Chuck Schumer are calling it economic arson today. They're pointing at this cascade of corruption where multi-billion-dollar corporations are securing tariff exemptions by basically making a pilgrimage to the White House, while small businesses are facing a Main Street scorched earth policy.
According to the Post and the Washington Times, even Republican Senator Tom Tillis is blocking some of these appointments because the court politics are getting too blatant. It's not a market. It's a tribute system. You want to import Canadian aluminum without a 25% tax? You better hope your CEO has a gold-level membership at the president's golf club.
And it's not just tariffs, John. Look at the Venezuelan oil situation. We intervened in January, meaning we sent the military in, and now in news breaking within the last 48 hours, the U.S. is selling seized Venezuelan oil through 2 Swiss trading firms, Vital and Trafigura.
Is that right? Wait, Vital and Trafigura? Those aren't names you hear at a church bake sale.
No, they're the firms that previously pleaded guilty to paying bribes in the U.S. and just settled DOJ cases, and now the administration is using them as the middlemen for $500 million in oil sales. Marco Rubio defended it in a Senate hearing, calling it a short-term fix for energy prices. But honestly, it's Iraq 2.0 with a Swiss bank account.
Well, here's the thing. It's always a short-term fix until the long-term consequences start leaking through the ceiling. It's like a plumber who fixes a burst pipe by just wrapping it in duct tape then asking you for a tip because he saved the house.
Right, but while they're looting the Venezuelan basement, they're holding our own infrastructure hostage. John, you see the Gateway Tunnel news?
Oh, I saw it. It's a revenge tour. Look, New York and Jersey filed a joint federal lawsuit yesterday because the administration is withholding $15 billion in contractually committed funding for the Hudson Tunnel. $15 billion!
And they have until Friday, February 6th. That is the deadline. If the money isn't released, construction stops. 1,000 union jobs. Poof, gone.
And why? Why are they doing it? Because Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says they need to review DEI practices in the tunnel construction. DEI? In a train tunnel? Are they afraid the concrete is too inclusive? It's performative. It's legislative constipation designed to punish blue states for not bowing low enough during the inauguration.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, Governor Kathy Hochul calling it a brazen act of political retribution is the most honest thing she said in a year. It's neighborhood bullying on a multi-billion-dollar scale. If you're a commuter in Queens or Jersey, your life is being used as a bargaining chip because some guy in DC wants to score points in a culture war.
Well, while we're on the topic of labor and the people who actually build things, we need to take a quick break to acknowledge the people who build this show. Look, we talk a lot about systems on this show, but we need to talk about labor. Independent media like this doesn't just manifest out of the ether. It takes real human work to build the infrastructure. We are 100% here because of the vision and the grind of Eric Christensen. He's not a media conglomerate. He is a builder who poured his own resources and time into creating this platform so we could have these conversations. If you value independent voices over corporate algorithms, please consider visiting our new Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media. It's an act of solidarity that keeps the lights on and the servers running.
Solidarity. That's a word that doesn't get used enough in DC unless it's about solidarity between billionaires. But John, let's talk about something that actually went right for once. The Texas miracle.
You mean Taylor Remmitt, the machinist who just walked into a Republican fortress and just started rearranging the furniture? Well, according to the Texas Tribune and KUT, this was a 31-point partisan swing from just 15 months ago. Trump carried this district by 17 points in 24, and Remmitt, an Air Force vet and a union leader, just won it by double digits.
It was 57-43, and he was outspent by $2 million, John. $2 million. The GOP candidate Lee Wemskins, who was personally endorsed by Trump, had all the dark money in the world, but Raymond ran as a machinist first. He talked about the cost of living, not slogans, but actual bread and butter. He focused on protecting public education and restoring trust. It's a triumph for everyday workers. He showed that if you stop treating the voters like data points and start treating them like people who can't afford their rent, they might actually vote for you. It's almost like the digital snake oil of the consultant class isn't as effective as a guy who knows how to fix a turbine.
You hate to see it if you're a GOP strategist, but honestly, it's a warning shot. The suburban firewall is fracturing. People are tired of the constant screaming about the nationalization of elections, which, by the way, did you hear Trump on Dan Bongio's podcast yesterday, John? I try to avoid listening to Bongino for my own blood pressure, but I saw the transcript. He's calling for a Republican-led takeover of elections in 15 jurisdictions. The state is an agent for the federal government. He says, well, I'm pretty sure the founders just rolled over so hard that caused a minor earthquake in Virginia. He reiterated it today at a bill signing. He said somebody else should take over if local officials don't count the votes to his satisfaction. And John, the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, was reportedly present during an FBI raid on a Fulton County election warehouse last week. Why is the director of national intelligence at a local ballot storage facility?
It's the war on reality, Mary. If you control the records, you control the narrative. If you nationalize the voting, you turn the states into branch offices of the executive branch. It's a total dismantling of the laboratory of democracy model. They want to replace it with a centralized, executive-controlled system where the DNI decides which votes are intelligent enough to count. It's institutional erasure, John, plain and simple. Look at what they're doing to the White House itself. They demolished the East Wing for a ballroom. $400 million for a 90,000 square foot ballroom while they're gutting USAID and firing overseas employees who are trying to prevent famines. They're building a Rose Garden Club for their donor class. It's 90,000 square feet. That's 60% larger than the actual executive residence. It's a gilded vanity project while the rest of the country is trying to figure out how to pay for eggs. Honestly, it's like a landlord who lets the roof leak and the furnace die, but builds a gold-plated elevator so he can show off to his friends. And then there's the culture war distraction, Title IX. Is that right? The volleyball thing? The Department of Education gave San Jose 10 days to comply with biology-based demands after they allowed a transgender player to compete. They're investigating the University of Nevada, Reno, too. I gotta tell you, despite all the screaming, there are only about 40 openly trans college athletes out of 500,000, but the feds are treating it like an invasion. It's a shiny object, Mary. Look, it's a way to keep people fighting over a locker room while the administration sells the hallway and the gym to a Swiss middleman. It's performative. And that brings us to the main event, the real reason we're sitting here today, the February 13th fiscal cliff.
Look, here's the deal. This is the highest stakes leverage play I've seen in my career. We just had a 4-day shutdown, a mini crisis, and the president signed the funding bill late yesterday. But the Democrats did something smart. They decoupled the DHS funding.
They gave them a 2-week allowance. February 13th is the deadline. If there's no deal on ICE reform, the Department of Homeland Security runs out of money. Look, this is about what happened in Minneapolis in January.
The killing of Renee Good, 37 years old, a mother, a poet. An ICE agent, Jonathan Ross, shot her during a traffic stop. The video contradicts everything the DHS said. It showed she was turning her vehicle away when she was shot 3 times.
And then Alex Bradis, the 37-year-old ICU nurse, a military veteran, gunned down during a Metro Surge operation on January 24th. They claimed he was armed, but the witnesses and the footage show he was disarmed and restrained. Restrained, Mary. And they still shot him.
It's the Operation Metro Surge playbook, John. It's snatch and grab governance. The Trump administration deployed 3,000 federal agents into American cities, and the result is blood in the streets. That's why abolish ICE isn't a slogan anymore. It's a central pillar of the Democratic platform because the public is horrified.
Well, look, I gotta tell you, the Minnesota general strike, the biggest labor action we've seen in years, was the direct result of these killings. According to The Guardian and FreightWaves, the entire Midwest economy just ground to a halt because people refused to work while federal agents were playing soldier in their neighborhoods.
And now we're at the standoff. February 4th. We've got 9 days left. The Democrats want a radical overhaul of ICE, meaning real accountability, real limits on federal surges. And the administration is threatening to let the agency collapse rather than blink.
Look, here's the thing. If the DHS shuts down on the 13th, the border goes into chaos, which the GOP wants so they can film it for their campaign ads. But the Democrats are saying not on our watch. They're using the funding as a blunt instrument to stop the killings. It's a fiscal cliff, but it's really a moral cliff.
It's like a neighborhood where the security guard starts shooting the residents. You don't keep paying his salary until he hands over his gun. You stop the funding until the rules change. But honestly, John, do you think they'll hold the line?
Well, I want to believe they will. But history is a cruel teacher. They have the leverage right now. The public is with them. The Machinists in Tarrant County proved that the working class isn't just a GOP talking point. They want safety and they want justice. But the nationalization of elections and the ballroom building, that's all meant to intimidate the opposition into thinking the machine is too big to stop.
You hate to see the cynicism, John, but you're right. It's a war on reality. They want us to look at the gold-plated ballroom and the biology-based sports rules while they're gutting the very idea of state sovereignty and human rights.
It's legislative edging. They keep us right on the brink of collapse, so we're too exhausted to fight the actual corruption. But that machinist in Tarrant County, that guy gives me a sliver, just a sliver of hope. He didn't have a ballroom. He just had a wrench and a message.
I'm not gonna lie, I like that machinist. And I like the fact that DHS is on a leash for once, even if it's only for 13 more days.
Well, we'll be here on February 13th to see if the leash breaks. In the meantime, everyone, check on your neighbors, support independent media, go to the Patreon, and for the love of God, keep your goats away from the structural beams. Mitch is currently looking at me like I'm made of alfalfa.
Happy birthday again to River. Stay 10 as long as you can, kid. And to everyone else, honestly, keep the line. It's all we've got.
Look, I mean, it's a long road, but we're on it together. Goodbye from the sanctuary. Stay angry, stay informed, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, folks. Look, here's the deal.